Microtransactions and in-game stores are now as common as dog shit on a sidewalk. These days when I purchase a video game, I get that gnawing, anxious feeling, wondering if I'm actually purchasing a game or if I'm purchasing simply a spruced up digital platform to sell me pixel-based content. While microtransactions in video games is certainly more widespread and prominent in today's industry, it is certainly nothing innovative, nor is it new. Back in the golden days of the arcades, microtransactions were actually essentially the way you played your games. By literally putting in your dimes and cents, you were paying for your playtime into that machine. Of course, in the modern industry, microtransaction model has gone through various bastardizations and come out the other end with one ugly head. Now let's get this clear, that's not to say that I'm against microtransactions by nature, but there's certainly something about them in the form that they are in today's industry that makes me literally want to stick my cash down my throat and vomit it up over and over again. Microtransactions themselves, by nature, aren't bad and exploitative by design. It's actually the big companies and the game executives who make them exploitative in today's industry. How, you ask? Well, I'm gonna bloody tell you. So let's start with in-game currency. Unlike a free market where things are affected by a variety of factors including supply and demand, in-game currencies actually allow companies to artificially price fix their content by telling you what your money is worth and not the market. It means that these companies are dictating the value of your dollar and thus reflecting that in the microtransaction prices so they can make sure that they're getting the better deal out of the transaction and not you. It's not only this, but companies aren't stupid. They understand things like marketing and the value of the impulse buy. By making in-game purchases so easy, usually only by pressing a few buttons if not less and then charging your respective card, it takes any sense of that real loss factor. So what's the real loss factor? Well, for example, if you physically have $10 in your wallet, it's physically there. If you go into a store and hand that $10 over, that $10 is physically gone and you recognise it and feel it more than just some numbers on a screen. Psychologically, a consumer is less likely to be willing to hand over physical money than in-game or digital currencies. In-game stores and microtransactions are designed to be fun and appealing and to be a pleasurable experience. It's designed so that it takes away that real loss factor and it tries to negate buyer's remorse and really divert your attention from the actual monetary loss that you're experiencing. Companies know that there are people out there, and I include myself as one of these people, who will make purchases against our better judgment on an impulse buy, on the overriding urge of, I want this now. Microtransactions are designed to be so quick and so painless as to capitalise on that psychological impulse before the little voice in the back of your head tells you to stop and really consider about what you're buying. This painless and quick design is exploitative by nature, not only capitalising on things like the impulse buy, but it's meaning that it's also exploiting those of a younger nature, specifically gamers' children and children of a younger age. I mean, how many times have we heard it now in the media where children are using their parents' iTunes accounts for iOS games or your credit card details on Xbox Live, and they're racking up a couple of $100 bills at a time making these microtransactions because in their minds, because they're so young, they don't understand the real life consequences. This design really does allow children to be exploited and rack up credit card bills in a matter of minutes with no real safeguards. Microtransactions in today's games are intrinsically designed to take away that psychological struggle of purchase from a consumer standpoint and really promote the spontaneous impulse to act without regards to the consequences. The abhorrent lack of respect for the games industry's customers by these game executives and these companies shocks me on a daily basis. Expensive microtransactions, on-disc DLC, locked content, literally the list is getting pretty damn long. It really does make me sick and laugh at the same time at these executives who come out in the media and complain about how expensive games are to make and how they make very little profit on the margins, and yet the statistics show that year on year in recent years, companies like EA, Ubisoft and mobile app companies are making hundreds of millions of dollars a year on microtransactions alone. Poverty my arse. The fact is that today's industry sees gamers as very little more than chickens in a battery farm producing money-filled eggs. Frankly, this will not last. This cash cow will turn sour, and the backlash that always follows will be somewhat bittersweet. Sweet in the fact that the mass market has finally woken up, stood up and said, no, we won't take any more of this. But bitter in the sense that it has already gotten so far down the line and people have been exploited so much. I often feel like not only has the games industry forgotten who pays its bills, but the consumer, the aforementioned bill payer, has also forgotten. Any games outlet or games journalist in any form that says microtransactions in their current exploitive form are a good thing for the industry is not only wrong, but I would go as far as to say they are nothing but charlatans. It is time for us, as the customer, as the consumer, and the one with the damn money, to really take back our buying power and say no to these companies. And if there is any of those game executives who are watching this, who think it's okay to exploit your customers and exploit your customers' families, I leave you with this. Fuck you and the microtransaction mount you rode in on.